Chapter 221. What do I want to do? Mia Kyle looked at Xander Yu's trembling legs with disdain in her eyes. I didn't mind kissing you, but what are you doing now? I've seen so many good-looking men, but none of them was as unappreciative as you. No one could be comparable to her cold brother or Neil Brown. Xander Yu had starred in a film with her previously, and she had taken advantage of him to test whether the scumbag Neil Brown would get jealous. She didn't expect the news to be suppressed by cold brother so quickly. The news didn't reach Neil Brown. On the contrary, Xander Yu was so self-absorbed to think that she was into him. Shit, Polaris swore in her heart. This Xander Yu was frightened just by a prop sword and almost peed his pants. She wouldn't even spare any attention for this kind of guy. She liked the manly type of guy, just like how Neil Brown was. Even if he was pointed at with dozens of guns, he wouldn't even frown a little. The more Mia Kyle thought about it, the more admiration she had for Neil Brown. He was so handsome but only had few friends. Fortunately, Mia was in love with him. Otherwise, he would be single all his life. To be honest, only a beautiful and smart woman like her, who was outstanding in all aspects, could be a good match for him. Polaris, you may take a rest. I'll brief Xander Yu through this. Mia Kyle was so angry, even the director had to give in. They didn't even know of Polaris's true identity. They only knew that she was managed by Rovio Entertainment. Everyone in the industry knew that Rovio Entertainment didn't take artists easily, but once their contract is signed, they would try their best to protect the artists. All the artists under Rovio had their strength and skills in acting. They never needed commercial publicity, but relied on their skills to market themselves. Whoever that was offered a contract with Rovio Entertainment either had good acting skills or great potential during their time in film school. As for Polaris, who had no background in film school and zero acting skills, everyone's guess was that she gained a contract with Rovio Entertainment because she probably had a rich and supportive investor. As for who this sponsor was, people had taken guesses, but none of them were certain. Why are we taking a break? He has spare time to waste, but I don't. Let's give it another try. If the scene fails again, perhaps we just need a replacement? Mia Kyle was busy shooting so many scenes each day and wanted to find an excuse to spend time with Neil Brown. She had no spare time to waste with these people. Master Yu, can you please be more mindful of what I've said? If this take fails again? The director paused halfway, but Xander Yu presumably should be aware of what was wrong. This is a film shoot and it's not up to her. Can she even decide on a replacement? Xander Yu was not worried to be replaced as he had a powerful investor backing him up as well. Everyone in the industry assumed that the reason Mia Kyle managed to sign a contract with Rovio Entertainment was that someone was supporting her from behind, where they had an ambiguous relationship. The man could protect her now, but if anything really happened, no one would care about her. Looking so ugly and having poor or even no acting skills, how dare you talk to me like that? Be careful with your words, I'll beat you up. If Mia Kyle wasn't in a rush, she would have him replaced immediately. She felt that it was good enough that she had even agreed to star in a production with such unprofessional actors. When Mia Kyle was furious, she could really beat someone up. There was a previous incident where Mia Kyle hit someone but no one knew the actual reason because the news had been taken down so quickly. Xander Yu knew that she always followed up with action after speaking her words. So he decided to endure her scolding and quietly vowed to take revenge in the future. After being scolded by Mia Kyle, Xander Yu's attitude was much better. Although the performance was not perfect, it was still usable. After that, Mia Kyle had another important scene that required stunt rigging, and she was sharing the scene with the supporting actor, Tori Yard. In fact, Tori Yard, the supporting actor, looked far more handsome and had better acting skills than the leading actor, Xander Yu. Perhaps Tori Yard just didn't have the same background, and that his management company wasn't very helpful. Therefore, after several years of acting, he was still taking on supporting roles. It was such a pity for his acting talent to not be recognized. Mia Kyle was quite pleased to meet the supporting actor, and both of them could chat quite well after the filming. They had once acted in the same film and went drinking together. He was at the very least a friend. Polaris, do you need me to help you with your lines? Don't be too scared and forget your lines later when doing the stunt, Tori Yard joked while sitting down next to Mia Kyle. Don't worry, the lines are etched in my mind. Even if I were to wet my pants, I won't forget them. Even though she had seemed carefree and not too serious, she had never taken her career lightly. She also never took advantage of her true identity. She worked according to the rules amongst the film crew, and most of the time she put in more effort than anyone else. However, she sometimes accepts the preferential treatment her family elders showed as a caring act in order to let them be at ease. Tori Yard grinned and said, Since you're so confident, I won't bother you anymore. Get ready. It's our turn soon. No problem. Mia Kyle said while making an okay gesture. Just after Tori Yard left, she immediately took out her mobile phone to take some selfies and send it to Neil Brown. Neil Brown, how do I look in my ancient costume? Am I pretty? I know you won't answer, but it doesn't matter. I know deep in your heart, you think I'm gorgeous. Neil Brown, let me tell you a secret. Every time when I get cast in a romance film, I would think of you as my lover. In that case, I could hug and kiss you. Neil Brown, I haven't seen you in a few days. Shall I treat you to dinner after my shooting today? I know you won't answer me, but who cares? I'm now going to do a stunt. I'll talk to you when I'm done. You can miss me and think about me as much as you want. XX. Although she clearly knew that Neil Brown would not reply, Mia Kyle still bombarded him with text and voice messages whenever she had time to spare. She wanted to routinely appear in his life, where he would get used to her existence. One day, if she stopped contacting him, perhaps he would feel the loss. Polaris, it's soon your turn. Let's get prepared, said the assistant. Okay. Mia Kyle responded and took a short video for Neil Brown, accompanied by a short text. Miss me, Neil Brown. Because her mind was full of Neil Brown, Mia Kyle was in a very good mood. She was usually afraid of heights, but she wasn't terrified, even after being rigged and hoisted up for the stunt. Chapter 222, Polaris, it's better to get a stunt double for such a dangerous scene. Jackie Ball, who had always been by her side, suggested worriedly, but Mia Kyle didn't take it seriously. He tried convincing Mia Kyle heaps of times to use a stunt double, but Mia Kyle wouldn't listen to him. She always had a theory, where everyone was equal and also loved. How could she be the one who earned the money while someone else bears the risks? Jackie Ball was so worried that he would break out in a cold sweat every time he watched Mia Kyle rigged for a stunt. The Kyle family was so rich that Mia Kyle's annual pocket money could be someone else's entire life expenditure. No one knew why she worked so hard. Looking at the wire rise in the air, Jackie Ball felt nervous. He had a feeling that something bad was going to happen. Hearing every creak of the wire, Jackie Ball's worry got more intense. Mia Kyle had never left his sight. At that sudden moment, the wire broke. Jackie Ball watched helplessly. As Mia Kyle plunged down from a height, she screamed, "Ah!" The shooting crew panicked, completely forgetting what to do. People started screaming, and the scene was in chaos. The moment Jackie Ball saw Mia Kyle fall, he ran towards her almost immediately, hoping to catch her in time. Though he had tried his best, he couldn't save Mia Kyle. He helplessly watched Mia Kyle fall before his eyes and heard a simultaneous thump. Oh my God, Mia Kyle was in pain. Her face turned pale. She felt as if her body had shattered. Polaris! Jackie Ball rushed over. His knees hit the floor hard as he knelt by Mia Kyle's side. He checked on her. How are you feeling? I think I'm going to die, Mia Kyle answered. She had never suffered such pain ever in her life. How she wished there were a few other crew members who also fell with her to share the pain. Don't move, I'm calling an ambulance. Jackie Ball comforted her while dialing on his mobile phone. Jackie Ball, are you worrying about me? Asked Mia Kyle. Don't talk, save some energy for later, Jackie Ball replied. Jackie Ball, can you grab my phone? Mia Kyle requested. Polaris, don't move, we've already called the ambulance, said the crew members that had surrounded her. No one dared to move Mia Kyle, since it was known to not move an injured person, and to leave it to the paramedics. Jackie Ball, get me my phone, Mia Kyle almost cursed. Her back was in extreme pain. If she wasn't trying to reach Neil Brown and get him to see her, she wouldn't have held on for that long. Jackie Ball asked worriedly, why do you need your phone? Shit. Stop your nonsense and just give it to me, Mia shouted in outraged. If it wasn't for the injury, Mia Kyle would probably have jumped up and beat him up. Jackie Ball had been around her for years but was just like her brother, Kevin Kyle. He was too rigid and never flexible. Mia felt that sooner or later she would go bananas. Jackie Ball never disobeyed Mia Kyle. He quickly handed over her mobile phone and offered nervously, what do you need to do? I can help. Mia Kyle didn't bother to react. She opened her app, switched on the video mode, and started recording herself. She said pitifully, Neil Brown, I wanted to treat you to dinner tonight, but I was injured during the shoot. I don't know if I will survive. You will come to see me after knowing that I have been so seriously injured. I know you're the best and won't let me down, right? After finishing the sentence, Mia Kyle sent the video and her phone slipped from her hand. She groaned feebly. Jackie Ball, don't let my brother, grandpa, and parents know about this incident. I don't want them to worry. Her brother was worried about his wife, so she didn't want to make any more trouble for him. Her grandfather was so old and she didn't want him to worry. Her mother had been sick and her father strived hard to take care of her mother. She couldn't let them worry too. Therefore, the only person who came to her mind was Neil Brown. She wanted to spend all her time with him. Jackie Ball hesitated. But what? Mia Kyle fiercely interrupted. She gnashed her teeth in pain and yelled, has the ambulance arrived yet? They can't afford for me to die here. Mia Kyle couldn't understand why this happened to her. The shooting went well, but the wire suddenly broke. She fell down immediately. She started thinking about people she had offended recently. How could someone take revenge? How was she going to hang around these people? Mia Kyle had a strong and feisty temper. In spite of that, she still had her limits. She couldn't hold on any longer. She added, Jackie Ball, I feel like I'm going to faint. Don't be scared. Remember what I told you. After finishing her sentence, Mia Kyle was finally relieved and fainted. She lost consciousness after that. Mia didn't know how she had been sent to the hospital, how serious her injury was, nor how long she had been unconscious. The moment she woke up and opened her eyes, Neil Brown's stern face was right in her sight. He was dressed in his military uniform. As long as he did not speak, he looked like a representative of justice. Mia Kyle thought that she had seen it wrong. She hurriedly raised her hand and rubbed her eyes, but her actions were too vigorous. Her wound was stretched, and it was so painful that she grimaced in pain. She screamed mindlessly, "This is really not something a person should suffer." Only 2 ribs were broken. "You will be discharged in a few days," Neil Brown said. He was calmly standing by Mia Kyle's bed. "I broke 2 ribs?" Mia Kyle asked while she stared at Neil Brown with her eyes wide open. "Neil Brown, don't you know how to show mercy to women? As the commander of the Chatterton Town military, have you lost all your empathy?" Mia Kyle questioned. Neil Brown replied, "What's empathy? Is it worth a penny?" Mia Kyle responded, I really wish I took you down with me." She couldn't fight him verbally nor physically, but she had merely accepted the fact that he was her lifelong partner. Neil Brown sat down by Mia Kyle's side. He reached out his hand and stopped her hand from moving. "If you still want to create trouble, you won't last long enough to take me down with you. I can prepare a coffin for you in advance if that's what you want," Neil Brown said. Mia Kyle was speechless. What was this man's heart made of? Did he have an iron heart? Would it kill him to say something nice? If it doesn't, why won't he say it? Mia Kyle pondered. She was puzzled. Neil Brown said, "Don't look at me like that. I won't buy it." Chapter 223. Neil's voice was very calm. His meticulous care for Mia could no longer be seen. He used to be even more nervous than she was, whenever she fell and hurt herself. One day she only skinned her knees, but he forced the doctor to conduct a full physical examination on her. He said, "You are our family's treasure. You must not be injured at all." He also once said, "Little girl, you were sent by God to save me. No matter how unhappy I am, I will be fine once I see you." Mia used to think that she was his whole world, and if she left him, his world would fall apart. Mia once thought that as long as she grew up, she could finally be with Neil. But it was not this way. Ever since she turned 18, Neil Brown had been hiding from her for the last few years. She had confessed to him countless times, but in return, she only got his ruthless sarcasm. "It's none of my business whether you like me or not." She used to think that she was very close to him, but now he was sitting by her side, but she couldn't get him to stay. Thinking of this, Mia's face suddenly darkened and said faintly, "Neil Brown, if I really fell to my death this time, would you be happy?" Not waiting for him to answer, Mia continued, "If I die, no one will come to bother you again, and you can peacefully live your life. I bet you are now hoping for me to fall to my death the next time, aren't you?" Hearing this, Neil narrowed his sharp eyes and said, "I thought you didn't know. Thank God you are still aware of this." Mia, who looked gloomy just now, instantly grew furious. She gritted her teeth and stared at him. She shouted, "Are you cold-blooded?" She was just joking and wanted to hear him say something nice to comfort her. How could he answer her like this? Was he trying to piss her off? Neil shrugged indifferently and said, "You are not the first one who calls me cold-blooded, and you won't be the last one too." Mia was so speechless that she was ready to wrestle him to death. Neil pressed his long arm on her body. She was in so much pain that she screamed, "Neil Brown, are you still human?" He hurted her so badly, and he even pressed on the wounded area. Why did she fall in love with a man like this? No, it was his fault. He acted a gentleman too well until she fell for him, and when she was into him, he ignored her and played with her feelings. Didn't he? It's not a big deal. Let's wait and see. I will teach him a lesson when I recover. Mia thought. Neil asked, "Does it hurt? Do you want me to let go?" Mia's face was pale with pain. "Bastard, stop pressing." Neil withdrew his hand and said, "You lost again." Mia said angrily, "What do you mean by I lost? Damn it, Neil Brown, you're a big guy, and you take advantage of me when I'm injured? If you want, I can fight you alone when I have recovered." Neil said, "I can defeat you without effort if you are injured. Why do I have to wait for you to recover?" Mia's face was full of disbelief. "Neil Brown, where has your morality gone to?" Mia exclaimed. He still answered with a serious face. "This is called a good strategy. What is morality? Can I survive on it?" Mia. This was the real Neil Brown, a man without morals. A man like Neil Brown, who looked like a gentleman from the outside, was rotten on the inside. Mia decided that she would stop her career as an actor and write a book about Neil Brown, about how dark his life was. It would definitely be a bestseller. "Little aunt, uncle." Little Karen's soft voice suddenly came from the door. Mia and Neil looked at the door at the same time. Accompanied by Lynn, little Karen walked towards them with small steps. Neil took 2 steps forward and picked little Karen up. "Karen, you're still as lovely as always. Uncle, give me money." Little Karen was very smart. She must let Neil know praising her loveliness did not prevent her from asking money from him. "Little Karen, who taught you to ask for money in this way?" Neil didn't believe that Kevin Kyle would teach his daughter like this. But after thinking about it carefully, Kevin might have changed after all these years. Mia asked, "Karen, why are you here? Dad said that you were disobedient and fell from a very high place, injuring yourself." Little Karen said, at the same time making a gesture of falling from a high place, "And it's time for me to fix my little aunt." Hearing little Karen's words, Neil couldn't help laughing. Haha, little Karen, you are really smart. You will be your aunt's opponent in trash talking in the future. Mia stared at Neil fiercely. She was so angry that she grabbed the pillow and threw it at him. But it didn't hit him, and she herself cried out in pain because she just aggravated her wound. Neil Brown, you are officially my enemy now. Okay, Neil said as he put little Karen on her bed. Karen, your aunt has broken down. Find a way to fix her. Okay, yes, I will. Little Karen nodded her little head hard. She would fix her broken little aunt. Neil touched little Karen's head for a bit, then turned around and left. Mia asked, "Where are you going?" Neil said, "I thought we are officially enemies. I'm leaving then." Mia was so angry that she gritted her teeth. After a long while, she said, "Screw you, Neil Brown, you bastard." Little Karen looked at Mia, who was shouting angrily with a shocked look on her face. She was scared. What did little aunt mean? Mia also noticed that she had frightened her little niece. She quickly smiled and said softly, "Sweetie, why are you here looking after me? Aren't you going to help your dad get your mother back?" Chapter 224. Mia realized she said it wrongly, so she quickly corrected herself. "Aren't you helping your daddy get close to Big Karen?" "Big Karen is still mad at Daddy," little Karen explained to Mia very seriously. After waking up that morning, Big Karen had gone. Little Karen was wondering if Big Karen was scared away by her crying. However, little Karen did not tell anyone about such an embarrassing thing. Otherwise, her father would laugh at her for crying the other night. In the past 2 days, she did call Big Karen on the phone. Her voice was very pleasant, and she was still willing to talk to her, but Big Karen didn't want to talk to her father. She then figured out that Big Karen was mad at her father, and it had nothing to do with her crying the other night. Big Karen would not dislike her. How could she not like such a cute girl like little Karen? Mia suddenly asked her, "Sweetie, do you want to see Big Karen?" Little Karen nodded her head and said, "Of course." She missed Big Karen a lot, but she didn't know what to do if Big Karen did not want to see her. Mia added, "Call Big Karen now and tell her that you are in the hospital. She will come to see you soon." "Will Big Karen come to see me?" Little Karen expressed some doubts. Big Karen had not come to see her for a few days. If she called her, would she really come? After leaving the Kyle household that day, Karen Daly focused all her attention on her work. She didn't think about the Kyle family at all, and she didn't want to even think about the incident that night. However, the more Karen Daly wanted to forget about it, the more she would think of it. Especially Kevin Kyle's hesitant expression. The helplessness in his eyes made Karen want to figure out what had happened in his past. Karen was not a meddlesome person. She did not even care much when her father refused to tell her about her past. She didn't know why she was particularly concerned about Kevin Kyle. It had been a few days since she started work at PM Corporation, and she was getting used to it. The people in her team were finally convinced by her work and treated her much better. Now she was living a good life, but it's just that she suddenly missed little Karen. She missed her soft voice and wanted to see her pink little face. Buzz. Karen was just thinking about little Karen, and suddenly her phone rang. Sister. Karen picked up the phone and heard little Karen's soft voice coming from the phone, and her heart was warmed by her soft voice. "Little Karen, have you had lunch?" Karen asked softly with her smiling lips. "No, I am in the hospital. It's so painful. Daddy is not here." Little Karen followed her aunt's instruction and deliberately said it in an unclear way. "Sweetie, which hospital are you in?" Before she got a reply, Karen had already picked up her bag and rushed out. She had to rush over and see if little Karen was all right. She still remembered how badly little Karen cried on the corridor the other day, as if the whole world had abandoned her. Now that she was injured, without her father and mother beside her, she must be very afraid. At this point, Karen Daly no longer cared about staying away from the Kyle family. She only wanted to take care of little Karen so that she wouldn't feel afraid. Karen Daly immediately hailed a cab after little Karen told her she was at Rovio Hospital. When she arrived at the hospital, she did not notice that there was also another person getting down from the car next to her taxi. The other person also followed her into the elevator. Karen looked up and saw it was Mr. Kyle. She was surprised. "Miss Daly, what a coincidence. You are at the hospital too," Kevin said, while he nodded at her. He was polite and distant, as if he had not done anything to her that night. "Yes." Karen nodded, averted his gaze, and stopped looking at him. As usual, Kevin stood stiffly, without any emotions. Only his hands on the side of his body were clenched so tightly that his knuckles were all white. They both reached the 8th floor where the inpatient wards were very soon. The elevator door opened, but Kevin did not move. He wanted to wait for Karen to go first, but she did not move either. She had come to see little Karen, but he was also here. It was better to pretend that she had something else to do because she didn't want to spend too much time with Kevin. "Miss Daly, which floor are you going to?" After a long while, Kevin asked first. "The 10th floor," Karen said casually. "Oh, okay." Kevin helped her press the 10th floor and then closed the elevator door. He wanted to go to the 10th floor with her. Karen asked, "Aren't you going to the 8th floor?" Kevin said, "I'm also going to the 10th floor." He would follow her anywhere she went. Karen. Little Karen was clearly on the 8th floor. What was he doing on the 10th floor? Was it because of her? Thinking of this, she glanced at him quietly and found that he looked calm and was looking straight at the elevator door. He had no other thoughts. Well, she admitted that she thought too much. Maybe he was just going to the 10th floor. The 10th floor arrived soon. This time, Karen did not stay any longer. She walked out, and Kevin followed closely behind her. Mr. Kyle, why don't you go first? Karen really couldn't see through him. He didn't say a word, and yet followed her around. She didn't know what he wanted to do. Why are you avoiding me? Kevin asked in a very serious tone. Karen Daly would never be able to understand his kind of helplessness, that the person he had been waiting for had finally returned to his side, but he could not get close to her nor touch her. These days, he even thought of letting go of everything, no matter what Samuel wanted to do, no matter if Karen could remember the past. He wanted to let go of everything, and take Karen Daly and little Karen to find a place where no one knew them, and start a new life together. I am not avoiding you, Karen Daly replied. She was hiding from him, but it was not good to admit it in his face. That night, he started. Mr. Kyle, I have forgotten about it. Karen interrupted him, looked into the distance, and said, I think it's better if you go have a look at little Karen. She needs you now. Chapter 225, Karen wasn't avoiding him, but she couldn't remember him, their child, and all their past. Although Kevin had long accepted this fact, his heart still hurt every time he met her. He clenched his fists and loosened them, again and again. He then calmed himself down and spoke to her. He said, Little Karen always tells me about you nowadays. If you can visit her with me, she will be very happy. Karen thought for a moment. She was not at fault in the incident too. Why did she avoid him anyway? It would only make her look guilty this way. They were acquaintances. Even if they were not friends, they still knew each other. There was no need for her to hide. She then decided to visit little Karen with him. After thinking it through, Karen looked up and smiled gently at Kevin. Okay, let's go together. In fact, I came here to see little Karen, but I forgot which floor she was on. Karen's smile was a little cunning. She was obviously lying. Kevin saw it through, but he stayed silent. This was the Karen Daly that he always knew. Who would play tricks on him from time to time, and would also trash-talk him occasionally. Most of the time, she was naughty but cute. When both of them appeared in Mia's ward together, Mia even thought there was something wrong with her eyes again. Didn't little Karen say that big Karen was still angry with Kevin? Then how did both of them get together? Had both of them made peace with each other? Dad? Little Karen quickly got out of bed and rushed to her dad. Kevin picked her up and kissed her. Dad, big Karen, I'm so happy to see you. Little Karen looked at Karen Daly, who was by Kevin's side, and said, Big Karen, I want you to hug me. Karen Daly hugged little Karen and looked at her carefully. After confirming that she was okay, Karen Daly was relieved. Don't hide from me, okay? Little Karen held Karen Daly's face, leaned forward, and kissed on her cheek. Karen Daly touched her head and smiled gently. I won't avoid you anymore in the future. Little Karen, you can come and play with me anytime. Hearing that she allowed her to go to her house anytime, little Karen was very happy and asked softly, Can Daddy also come along? Little Karen and Daddy both liked Big Karen. It would be great if Big Karen had been with them all the time. Little Karen thought to herself. At night, her father could sleep on the left side, and Big Karen could sleep on the right side, while little Karen could sleep in the middle. Just thinking about it made her so happy. Karen Daly pinched little Karen's face and said, Dad is busy. He still has work to do. You can come along to see me. All right then. Little Karen looked at her father, who just gave her a look and quickly understood what her dad meant. She struggled to take off the necklace around her neck and said, Big Karen, this is your present. The necklace was actually a protective amulet made of fragrant wood. Her grandmother gave it to her, and she had worn it since she was a baby. Isn't this the necklace that you wear all the time? How could I accept it as a gift? Karen Daly thought that she should be the one who gives little Karen a present, instead of the other way round. But I like you. I want to give it to you. Little Karen, however, insisted and clumsily tried to wear it for Karen Daly. Karen Daly glanced at Kevin subconsciously. He nodded to her and said softly, Little Karen want to give it to you. If you don't accept it, she will be sad. Big Karen, little Karen wailed. As soon as Kevin finished his words, tears welled up in little Karen's big eyes. Hey, sweetie, do not be sad, I'll take your gift. Karen Daly held little Karen's head and kissed her forehead. Thank you. Little Karen immediately stopped crying and said happily, Put it on, please. You are not allowed to take it off anymore. Well, all right, I will put it on and not take it off, I promise. Karen Daly put the necklace on immediately. Little Karen looked back at Kevin and smiled proudly, as if she was saying, Dad, I have completed the task you gave. Kevin nodded at his daughter with satisfaction and secretly gave her a thumbs-up gesture. Ouch, ouch, it hurts so much. Mia Kyle, who had been ignored for a long time, really couldn't stand it anymore. The three of them were reuniting so warmly. Did they care about her feelings? She was still lying on the bed injured, and 2 of her ribs were broken. She couldn't even get out of her bed now, but no one came to care about her. She was so pitiful that no one loved her, and still needed to watch the lovely family of 3 in front of her. Stop yelling. Your wound isn't that bad till you can't get out of bed. Kevin spoke to her in a cheerful voice. What? Mia Kyle shouted discontentedly. Wasn't it serious that I broke 2 ribs? Then how do you define serious? Someone who cannot eat or talk? Who told you that you have broken 2 ribs? Kevin asked. If Mia had really broken 2 ribs, would he only send little Karen to take care of her? He would have already hired the best specialist on earth to treat her. How could he let Mia stay at the hospital alone? Did Neil Brown lie to me? Mia Kyle sat up in anger. After sitting up, she found that the wound, which had hurt until she couldn't move earlier, had recovered without medicine. She moved again. It was amazing. When she first heard that 2 of her ribs were broken, she felt as if she was in great pain. But at this moment, when she heard that she was fine, she felt no pain all over her body. She immediately got off her bed and ran around the room. Mia Kyle ran over and picked little Karen up. She kissed her on the face and said, Sweetie, it's all because of you that I recovered so quickly. Little Karen spread her hands out to Mia Kyle and said, $1,000 please, pay me now. You're really a money-minded baby. You only know how to ask me for money. Why don't you ask your mother for money? Mia Kyle muttered and pinched her face. The Kyle family's property belongs to you in the future, and you are asking me for this little money now? Okay, pack up your stuff now. Let's go back first. Kevin still had to thank Mia Kyle. If Mia hadn't come up with such a good idea, Karen Daly wouldn't have been here too.